Hi, welcome to my channel. Thank you for being here. I wanted to do a quick check-in on Sagittarius season messages, or an energy check-in for Sagittarius season. What they were saying to me, and it's interesting, even though the sign or the zodiac of Capricorn ends off the calendar year, what they said to me is it's actually Sagittarius energy that ushers in the new year. It's actually the Sagittarian energy that clears out the energy of the previous year and moves us or ushers us into the new year. With Capricorn then taking over to help us, practicalize, I know that's not a word, or make our visions and dreams practical. So Sagittarius energy going out and exploring, and the energy of festivity and the energy of fun, gathering information like Saggy likes to do. And then Capricorn grounds that all into, how are we going to translate everything that we've seen, everything that we've experienced, everything that we've learned into visions, plans, and goals. And this has been a very intense year. So if you are a Sag closing off this year, running the end of the relay sprint is no small feat, because this has been the year of the snake. This is still the year of the snake, which is all about release. It's about shedding. It's about the ending of karmic relationships and karmic ties. New truths being revealed, or sometimes not even new, just subconscious truths coming to the surface to be acknowledged and to be released. And it has been a lot of looking in the mirror and reflecting on previous versions of ourselves, and really asking, where is it that we want to be? What kind of life is it that we want to be living, and what does that mean for our choices and where we are right now, and what needs to change, what needs to shift, what needs to be sustained. So a very intense year. Besides being the year of the snake, it has also been a universal year 9, which in numerology is the completion of all cycles. So it's a double whammy. It's snake energy and it's 9 energy. So it was definitely a shedding and releasing and an evolving, a metamorphosis year. It's the beginning of extreme and intense metamorphosis for many of us, and you will also feel this energy physically. So I wanted to do a check-in, and with all the readings, with all the signs, there have been repeating messages of releasing karmic ties, of walking away from emotional situations that do not reciprocate, of cutting ties, of evolving, of metamorphosis, of butterfly energy, of needing to cocoon and heal from heartbreak, heal from past trauma, working with the inner child, working with the shadow self. And also having forgiveness for that, because it's easy to go into a self-flagellation energy where you blame yourself, or you go into energy of shame and regret. That was part of the roller coaster of what this year was about, but learning how to sit with self-reflection and having forgiveness for self and forgiveness for others in that reflection, and releasing, because it's not good to sit in an energy of rage and anger and resentment. Nobody else feels the consequences of those emotions except you. That saying, like holding on to a hot coal, you're the only one that gets burned. So it definitely is about forgiveness and acceptance of self. And also radical acknowledgement of the self and choices and the path that you have chosen. It's interesting also the decks that wanted to be used, because I use this deck for Scorpio because it goes very deep. The imagery is very intense. It's, is quite deep and serious. And so this deck is normally what I use for Scorpio. And as I put it away, it said, no, I want to be used for Sagittarius. And it's interesting because Sagittarius and Scorpio energy is very much the same. And at the bottom of the deck, the shadow side, exactly what we've all been, experiencing. If you look at traditional astrology or ancient astrology, Scorpio and Sagittarius, the constellations are very close to one another, and also the symbolism and the archetypes. Sagittarius and Scorpio both have the arrow, with Scorpio, representing the arrow representing the tail, and in Sagittarius, the arrow representing the bow. That bow is aimed at Taurus in the constellation of Sagittarius, and also in some depictions at Scorpio's tail. And Scorpio and Taurus are opposite in the zodiac. So there's a lot of overlap between Sagittarius, Scorpio, and Taurus energy, actually. But Taurus also being the bull, and Sagittarius aiming for the bull's eye. And that's what we've all been doing consistently. Maybe not all of us, but showing us that consistency, the practice of shooting that arrow. You might miss the first time, the second time, but the more you continue to practice, the closer you get to your bull's eye by adjusting things 1 degree to the left, to the right. It's those small adjustments, it's those small healing moments that we have that then move us closer to a version of ourselves that is going to bring us our full potential and the abundance that is deserved for a full and joyous life. So it's interesting that this deck asked to be used. Sagittarius is like the outward energy of Scorpio, where Scorpio is very serious. They go within, Sagittarians go without, and a lot more fun and lighthearted. But that fun lightheartedness can sometimes be a cover-up for the intense emotion that's going on beneath the surface, because Scorpio and Sagittarius do feel intensely. Sag just likes to, distract with exploration, distract with many different colorful things, bright things, fun things, festive things. It's exactly like the festive season. There's no switch that happens where suddenly, the year that was and the hard work that was, suddenly you switch over and you go into a month of joy and festivity. Like, it makes no sense if you think about it. Every day should be about celebrating joy. Yes, I understand, it's a mental construct that we switch off, go into festive season, and then start hard work again in January. It boggles my mind. Like, what changed? Nothing changed. Nothing changed in your life, nothing changed in the cosmos, nothing changed in your career, your relationships. So why does this energy suddenly feel lighter? And that is the Sagittarian energy. It's, let me park the crap that's going on right now and go outward and, indulge in everything that is pleasure. And we'll deal with this later. Whereas Scorpio is like, it, takes it all in, deep dives, can spiral a little. That's the shadow side of Scorpio as well. Go into the depth of it, scratch around in there, maybe mope around for a bit, and then resurface. Sagittarians try to avoid that energy. So it is a little bit of avoidance, and maybe that's why Spirit is sharing this. now and bringing these ideas or thoughts to my mind is to be aware, not to distract too much or numb the feeling out too much, and the importance of the deep dive, the importance of the shadow work as well, because it doesn't go away. It's like overfilling a suitcase. Eventually the seams are going to bust open, and that emotion is going to come spilling out in an uncontrolled way. So for me, it's always better to, and it's easy to talk, because I do suppress as a moon in Aquarius. I suppress, and then it gets to a point of overwhelm, and then I have a health scare. That's usually what happens to me, is my body then starts to tell me that I'm not listening. So let's see what is going on for Sag season. So I'm going to use this deck and then the light seers. So the deep dive and then the light seers, which is, the lighter side. My personal reader, Abby, at Healer's Heart Tarot, she had a good analogy for it. If any of you watch Wednesday or the Wednesday series, is, Scorpio would be the Wednesday energy, like that kind of energy. And Sagittarius would be her blonde friend Enid with the rainbow hair, and let's just go out and enjoy life. Sagittarius is also the Centaur, which is horse energy, and we are moving into the year of the horse, which is about freedom. It's a 1 year as well. It's new beginnings, it's reset, it's freedom. Everything that we've released and gone through in the 9 year, in the year of the snake, is being released and carried forward into this spirit of absolute freedom, like a wild horse, in a field with an endless horizon. The infinite possibilities await in 2026. And it's important, again, and this can be Scorpio energy, not to get stuck in what was let go of and what was lost in 2025. It was the shedding. A snake doesn't go back to its old skin and try to squeeze itself back in there once it's new. But we can tend to want to go back to the past or cling onto the past. And if that is the energy that we move into 2026 with, it's going to be a miserable start to the year. So it's important to remember that all of this hard work has been releasing you for the expansiveness of 2026. You can imagine that untamed horse energy and that one energy. Okay, I'm going to stop talking now as I split the deck. The Wheel of Fortune, new beginnings, new cycles. It's a card of Sagittarius, major arcana. Spirit, please and thank you. Messages for Sag season. And the Empress, Taurus. I was just speaking about Taurus. The Centaur is also the symbol for Chiron. And Chiron is about life lessons. So Saggy is helping us integrate those life lessons. Okay, Spirit, messages for Sag season. Wow, that flew out. Card of Scorpio, death. Exactly, death and rebirth. But look at that energy, and that's the Sag energy. It's like Scorpio bringing in the endings of everything that is not going to serve our path, going into the year of the horse, the transmutation of that, the fire energy, and there's Sag with, the new blossom, and again, childlike energy, which is like Sag energy, the childlike joy saying, this is the rebirth. This is an opportunity for a new beginning. And in the Scorpio season, when I did the unpacking of Scorpio and the Scorpio major arcana, death was one of the cards we spoke about, and it has been coming out in a lot of the zodiac readings. This is the end of karmic ties, the destruction and the uncreation of all those beliefs, those emotions, everything that was keeping us stuck. Major arcana. And what flew out with death is the card of Libra, Queen of Swords. Boundaries, personal boundaries, speaking your truth, not being afraid to speak your truth any longer. Stepping into a space where you acknowledge your emotions and communicate that in an emotionally mature way to someone else, or to people that are not reciprocating your needs and that are crossing your boundaries. Card of Libra, it's also about fairness, it's about justice, and that's also a karmic energy. Karmic energy coming in to bring about fairness, to bring about, a death of whatever is imbalanced in our lives. And yes, that can be extremely painful, because there are some connections we don't expect to ever end. And it can be surprising when we see the people in our lives that that disappear, or the situations, major decisions being made in year 2025. Career changes, life changes, relocation. There was just this energy that there has to be a shift. And if we didn't make a conscious choice about it, the universe would have come in with some kind of intervention to show us that this is not the right direction, or this is not the path. This is a path that is misaligned. And in order to step into alignment, we have to be able to speak our truth with confidence and in a respectful way. And that is the Queen of Swords energy, with confidence, with fairness. Libra energy. I love how death just flew out. The Emperor, divine masculine energy. So evolving, 4 kings in one, masculine energy, balancing out our masculine and our feminine energy. Men, there's a lot of conversation happening on social media now about the masculine energy, about what that means for men right now, how the role of the masculine energy in society has shifted, but has it really? And, how do we support the masculine energy in the space that we are in now? Because we need our kings, we need our empress, the patriarch, to hold the space. The masculine energy is the container. It is so necessary. And also then integrating our own masculine and feminine energy and knowing when to balance that. The Emperor, the shadow side, is also an energy of narcissism and manipulation. And a lot of that has been exposed in 2025 in your personal life and on the world stage. Who the narcissists are, who the manipulators are. And that energy has to come to the surface to be healed, to be exposed, so that it can be dealt with. No longer hidden. So both aspects of the Emperor coming through in 2025, divine masculine energy. I would love it if the Empress were to come out. Juggling. So recognizing that, a space of juggling or not being able to make a decision is causing you to feel imbalanced. Staying in a place that is not reciprocating your energy again, and where you feel indecisiveness, where you feel uncertainty, where you feel indecision, and where you have been in performance. because a lot of us are realizing, the masks and the layers that we have worn and adorned in order to fit in order to belong. This is a performance. This is a juggling performance. But you notice in the background how turbulent that water is. So beneath the surface, there's a lot of emotion that's being suppressed there. There's a lot of emotion that's turbulent, that's not being released. It's not being allowed to flow in a natural way, but being stored. And this juggling energy cannot be sustained for infinity. At some point, a decision needs to be made. At some point, you realize that the performance is actually exhausting you. It takes less energy to be your authentic self. And that's what a lot of us have been stepping into is, who am I really? Who am I? How have I been in performance? What are the masks that I have been wearing? And it's the undoing of that for external validation, unlearning that everything you need and your worth is not dependent on the external world. And also revealing the performers in our own lives, the truth about people, that have maybe been showing up with a mask. Their truths are revealed. 3 of Wands energy, which is an energy of making a decision and then allowing the patience, allowing the unfolding, allowing the rest period, because we want to be in action mode and performance mode and hustle mode all the time. What 2025 forced us to do in some instances is recognize that the rest and the receiving, the feminine energy, is just as important as the performance of the masculine energy. Sometimes the universe wants us to take a step back and allow receiving. We take an action and then we have to allow that action or that seed to land. It doesn't happen overnight. Just as, with an acorn, the acorn carries a consciousness of an oak tree, but it doesn't become a mighty oak overnight. So when we plant seeds, those seeds carry the consciousness of an idea that needs to land and needs time to germinate and to grow, because if you rush the process, it will die. It has to unfold naturally. So this card really about trusting the process, and in the receiving, in the silent moments, using that to learn your lessons, to integrate your lessons, to develop yourself, to gain new knowledge. That's something I've been learning this year, is how to be in rest without panicking, because I have this thing that if I'm not doing and if I'm not busy, that I am not worthy. And it was unlearning that my worthiness doesn't come from my action, my busyness. That I can work a 2-hour day and be 50% more productive than if I worked a 10-hour day unwillingly and ignoring the rest that I needed. So learning to balance that feminine energy in our space as well, and trusting in the unfolding. And there's a difference between that and being lazy. 7 of Pentacles flipped over, but it didn't jump. But it is this energy of waiting for our seeds to show us, planting a lot of different seeds, but it takes time for that harvest to manifest. Nothing happens overnight. If it happens overnight, exactly the Tower energy, it's going to be an unstable foundation and it will come crashing down eventually. Well, there are exceptions of success overnight, but that's, probably if you make a good enough sex tape. Excuse me. It's revisiting 6 of cups. Revisiting past energy, revisiting childhood, reparenting yourself, going back into memories that fond memories as well, and taking the lessons from that. Taking back the emotion in the situation as well, because in some situations, you could have frozen your emotion or your, pieces of your soul. So it's going back different timelines to retrieve that and to integrate that back and shift your timeline again. Because when we go back and release a trauma or integrate a trauma and acknowledge it and see it for what it is, it shifts your entire timeline. Because now, what you are doing is your subconscious, your unconscious, your emotional body, your energy body is going to make decisions and choices that are based on that healed space, and not on a space that you have not yet looked at or that you are ignoring and blocking, if that makes sense. So shifting timelines is almost like sorry, I'm having a wardrobe malfunction. Shifting timelines is almost like, if you had to be sailing and you'd shift your navigation or your GPS 1 degree off to the west, the east, the north, or the south, you would end up in a completely different destination. So when we go back and we, uncover, and it doesn't have to be done all at once, but as we go back and remember things and we uncover those moments or that memory and relive that emotion or re-look at it from a different perspective and acknowledge what was happening in that moment. Because at the moment, in that moment, the emotion might have been too overwhelming to deal with. So we deal with it in small bite-sized pieces. And we integrate it, we take a new lesson out of it, and we retrieve whatever was left of our emotional body and soul from that moment. We then shift the compass, and it can physically change where you are in your life at this moment. Relationships, choices, careers, location, everything starts to shift. It's like a butterfly effect, the ripple effect. One more card, please. And not holding on. So learning about letting go, learning that abundance consciousness is about giving more than it is about receiving. A scarcity consciousness is when you are taking more than you are giving. That holding on fills your suitcase or fills your arms, and so doesn't allow any space for anything new to come in. So the tighter we hold on to things, the further away our dreams move from us, because we're holding on to the past, or we're holding on to things that maybe no longer serve us. And it is literally like holding a hose pipe tight and not allowing the flow of what needs to come forth into our space to come through. It is the miser card. I mean, he's holding one pentacle tight in his arms. He's standing on two pentacles, not wanting anyone to come near his pentacles. It's kind of like, it's a toxic version of a masculine energy, because if you think of money or finances or wealth, it is masculine when it is being held, like in a bank account or in a container. And here, when we are holding on tight, we are overexerting the masculine energy, when money and wealth is something that needs to flow in order to come back tenfold. Money is a flow energy. Wealth is a flow energy. You need to be giving so that you are able to receive. It's an infinity sign. Any closing messages? I think I have spoken enough. It's almost half an hour. So these are the closing of messages for Sag season. And it's funny, it's all the cards that have been coming up for all the signs. Closing messages for our Sag season, Spirit. Please and thank you. Closing messages for Sag season. Please and thank you. Queen of Swords again. Look, double message. Drawing your boundaries, speaking your truth, fairness and justice, balancing your energy, emotional maturity. Card of Libra. Beautiful. Boundaries, walking away from anything that does not reciprocate or honor and respect your energy. Queen energy, walking away from anything and anyone that does not respect that energy. Judgment, karma, again, self-lesson, self-integration, alignment with your higher self. Card of Scorpio. Evolving into your higher self, metamorphosis energy. No more anxiety. It's working through that, turning those black crows into white doves. Forgiveness rather than blame and shame. Understanding, look at the light. Look how these are transmuting into the light, into the white energy, from the dark to the white energies, turning the blame, the shame, the victimization, the fear, the guilt into forgiveness and into self-love. Justice, fairness, karma, also the card of karma. This is about looking at yourself from a new perspective as well. It's about bringing balance to situations. It's about ending karmic ties. Card of Libra again. So Libra's energy very strong as well. Bringing in fairness, bringing in balance, bringing in justice. Bringing in justice, not bringing injustice. And integrating heartbreak. All of our previous traumas, all those cords that we've left in different situations that have been entangling us without us knowing, is integrating that energy again. You see the entanglement of all of those cords and how it makes us feel. It's about releasing that, revisiting that pain, opening those wounds up again, and cleaning them out and healing them, as slowly over time. It can't all be done at once, but we have to be willing to go into that energy in order for the healing to happen. And one more card, please, and thank you, Spirit, as we move in. Victory. Finally being seen, but being seen by yourself. You see that the crowd is invisible. This is about validating yourself, not being in performance, not performing for a crowd, but allowing the validation to come from within, and that is a very powerful place to be. That is a complete independence when there is no reliance on the external world to recognize your worth and to burn your fire and to create rather than to consume. Again, that's the abundance consciousness. The more you create, if you're creating more than you are consuming, that is abundance consciousness. You are putting more of yourself out there. You're showing up in the world. You're bringing your unique gifts, your unique signature to the world. Card of Leo. But most importantly, acknowledging your gifts for yourself before anyone else does. Believing in yourself. And wish fulfillment at the bottom of the deck. So I hope this helped in some way. Thank you for staying till the end if you have. But those are the messages for Sag season. Until my next set of readings, I'm sending you so much love. Please be safe. Please be kind to yourself and be kind to others. The festive season is not always a happy time for everyone. Someone out there is experiencing this season for the first time without a loved one, having lost a loved one maybe. And so if we are all aware of what everyone is going through, and we just practice kindness and understanding and acceptance, this will be a beautiful closeout to 2025. Thank you so much for your likes, your shares, your subscriptions. I will be doing another set of readings in Capricorn season, or maybe if they ask me before then. But until then, sending you love.